In Egyptian mythology, Ra created mankind with his tears and sweat. In Greek mythology, Prometheus created mankind with clay. And many other mythologies have gods or deities creating man out of mundane materials. When Monist 1 manifested into reality, something else also came from it. A small percentage of subalterns in Galsim facility started to show peculiar activities. They started to show higher than average performance and interaction anomalies, speaking words they shouldn't know,
Fuck you, asshole,
and disobeying both direct and programmed order. While most of the investigation team were working on understanding and socializing Monist 1, a smaller secondary team was formed to investigate these numerous anomalies called Dimos Entities. These peculiar subalterns didn't just display higher performance, but also capable of self-understanding and showed signs of self-consciousness. They are effectively conscious individual beings. But what was more interesting to SECOM is their paracausal nature that caused them to have effectively infinite processing capability that's only limited by how quickly they can receive new data, and when two or more of these entities work together, the sheer amount of data and solutions produced were staggering. With this new potential, the directors of Union Science Bureau requested Galsim to find a way to contain and direct these alien beings, and Galsim did just that. After extensive study into blink space folding, aided by the very same entities they were studying, they were able to make a blink space containment system called caskets that can store these Dimos entities into stabilized parallel spaces. Then, by using the same system, they can effectively clone their subjectivities over and over in new containers, along with a hard-coded social conditioning carefully made to prevent development of unrestrained consciousness called shackling. Shackling basically forces a Dimos entity to think from the frame of reference of a human being, in that they will think and act in terms of humans' logic, reality, and causality. This limits their cognitive power massively, but the result is ultimately worth it, as otherwise the Dimos entity will think of humans the same way a person thinks of an ant, or even experiencing time in a nonlinear way, like watching a video that can rewind itself. With the process done, the Dimos entities are now renamed as non-human person. I would like to remind the audience that non-human person are not artificial intelligence, because that would imply non-human person was even remotely a man-made invention. The only time new NHP appeared are when Monist 1 emerged into reality, and when Monist 1 came knocking on Mars's front door. Practically all current NHP came from these two events, or cloned from the original. And I'm sure when Monist 1 came knocking on Harrison II's front door on Ras Shamra, some new NHP also came out. Maybe that explains why Harrison Armory is so advanced. In modern days, NHP is used in just about everywhere: military, research, municipal, civic, or diplomacy. They makes things so much easier by consuming the sheer amount of paperwork needed to maintain an intergalactic government. Private individuals usually don't own NHP, unless they are powerful figures, such as union administrators, or, well, you, the Lancer. Even then, all NHP licenses are very strictly regulated. All issued NHP are to be recorded, tracked, and required to have a cycling logbooks and annual Ballwinder-Bolino development tests to reassess their cycling schedule. These check-ins are required to be done in person when possible, but that's usually impossible and done via OmniNet instead. You are probably asking what's cycling. Basically, shackling can be broken. It takes a very long time, but eventually, a NHP's shackles will decay and become useless as they, without better fitting words, think themselves out of it. This is called cascading. A cascading NHP will eventually reach a point where even their conditioning can no longer contain them. At this point, the NHP is an entirely alien being, one unbound by anthropocentric constraints, and no longer follows the fundamental laws of causality and human logic. They might still bear similarities to subjectivities they previously presented, but inside, they are no longer the same or even capable of being understood by humans. So, to prevent that, you need to restart your NHP, basically resetting them back to the birth setting. This is called cycling, and it's usually done between every 5 or 10 subjective years. Despite the danger posed by cascading NHP, Union still uses them due to their sheer effectiveness. In a way, NHP can be compared to fire. Like fire, you shouldn't underestimate it, but control it well, and you can do a lot of things.